This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net. And today we are having another wonderful performer with us here. I talked to two other performers today. None were as beautiful as my guest today. And her name is Zoë Van Tieghem. And what a beautiful name. I mean, like, is there a meaning for it, or is there?
Well, Zoe means life in Greek. I think my parents just liked it. And then Van Tieghem means from Tieghem, this small village in Belgium that I guess my relatives were from.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, whatever, it is a beautiful name, and we will remember it. So obviously you are in the entertainment field, and there are so many people that grow up and they say, that's exactly what I want to do when I grow up. So did you know when you were a young child that you were going to be on stage, or what did you think you did?
Yeah. It's sort of all I've ever wanted to do, or all I've ever done. I grew up with very artistic parents, and my dad is a musician. He's a percussionist and a drummer and a sound designer. And my mom was an actress, and now she's an artist, a visual artist, a photographer. And all of their friends are in the arts and music and theater, and so it was all that I knew, and it just sort of made sense. And I used to like dance around the living room to singing all of the different parts of The Sound of Music with like a jester hat on and like a tutu, and I would like force my parents' friends to like watch me do these performances. But so humble beginnings. but yeah.
So one of the there's
I don't know if you heard that.
Yeah, I did.
Here we are in New York.
Hey, you're in New York and here I am in Ohio. And as I said before, there is a storm coming in, and so who knows, we may have sound effects and might make it a little bit more interesting. You never know. So obviously you grew up in the heartland of entertainment, and even people who aren't making it on the stage in New York, they're making it on the street corners as well. So you obviously had a colorful life, but you had your parents that were guiding you, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
So I think it's fun to think about those days when, like you said, you came out in a tutu and you danced in front of your parents' friends and you made them watch. I had a brother who was like that, although he did wear a tutu, but he would come up with some reason why he was going to entertain the family. And I was always jealous of him, because it was like, how do you do it? How can you just pick up a guitar and play it? How can you stand up there and tell jokes that, our parents would hear in a nightclub? Where did you get it from? And he would just look at me and say, you just have to have the knack. So I'm assuming you had the knack. Tell us a little bit about what it was like when you were going to high school. Were you participating obviously in music and dance and theater?
Yeah, so I actually went to a performing arts high school here in New York City called LaGuardia High School, which is the school that the movie Fame is based on. So I definitely did a lot of that. I was a drama major, so I did mostly plays and theater, and but I also did some musicals and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, that was sort of like the main thing I did in high school. We were also forced to take like math classes and all of that. But I did do a lot of acting growing up.
And for those of us who watched Fame on TV or, saw the movie, we always assumed that, oh, you didn't have to take those classes at all. Um, I know when my son became, when he was a freshman in college, he was, he had a music scholarship. And in his mind, even though he knew better, in his mind, he was going to have to take math and English. And as he signed up for his classes, he said to me, "This is great." And I looked at it and I said, "So when are you going to take your math? And when are you going to take your English?" He said, "Do you have to spoil college for me?" And I said, "Yeah, because you're not going to graduate if you don't have those classes." So I'm glad you brought that up, that you still had to take those courses as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I didn't do particularly well, but I took them. I think I passed my last math class just out of sheer pity.
oh.
They were just like, you know what? We never want to see you again. So here you go.
Well, we never want to see you again, but please go make it on the stage so that we can come and see you.
Yes, yeah.
So what is your professional life like now? You've gone to college, you are out there performing. Is it as glamorous as we all think about as we're sitting home watching shows on Netflix?
Well, there are moments. There are definitely moments where I'm in a jazz club and I have, a drink in my hand and the music is beautiful and I'm with people that I love, or I'm going to see a show and it's like a nice summer evening and everyone's really excited. There are definitely those moments, but there are also moments where I'm late for an audition, I'm sweating, my umbrella's broken, I've spilled coffee on my shirt, I got the time wrong. So like it's both total glamour and absolute chaos at the same time. But yeah, I went to the new school for college for undergrad. I graduated in 2021. So I had, I spent most of the pandemic in college, which was interesting. And it gave me a lot of time to work on new things and to sort of build this show that I'm doing, this cabaret show, because it came out of having to stop everything else that I was doing, especially working in such a collaborative industry.
Right.
It was really bizarre to not be able to see anybody. So I was like, well, the thing that I can do is sing. And I'm really grateful that it's sort of like taken off a little bit and I'm able to do it now for actual people.
And not just a real audience. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, so many of us don't understand how the pandemic really affected entertainers, because so many of us were lucky enough to be able to sit at home and watch our favorite artist, do a Zoom concert, share their life story with us. There were so many things that we were able to do that we didn't realize how hard it was for you, because when you're on stage, you get that instant response from us. When you're on the screen, you don't. And I know what that's like. I've done an occasional one woman podcasts, and I sometimes get off and I think, what did I say? And is anybody going to even listen to it? So what was that like for you during that time period that, here you are in college, you're getting ready to graduate, and yet you're stuck in the house with a computer?
Yeah, it was weird. I got really sick of it. I got, Zoom fatigue, especially because all of my classes were online, and it was hard not being able to feel the audience in the way that you can when you're on stage, because something chemical happens, like between you and the audience, good or bad, something happens. And not having that was really bizarre, because you don't, I just wasn't used to it. But we found ways to make it work. You know, we did things outside, or did things or had a live audience on Zoom. So at least like there were people there who, you know, you could at least like see responding to things. But it was really, really weird. It was scary. I mean, as it was scary for everyone to have life just totally halted. You know, we didn't know if we were ever going to do it again. I was like, am I going to have to find something else? Am I going to have to become something else? Which I was absolutely not prepared for. And still am not. But I'm grateful that we've, at least to some degree, made it out.
Absolutely. My husband and I go to live theater fairly regularly. And, you know, even though streaming movies and sitcoms and whatever on TV doesn't replace theater, I was able to do that just to get my entertainment. My husband, on the other hand, you know, he just like would pace up and down, because for him, that's not theater. And I would say, just give into it for a little bit. Things will turn around. And he'd say, well, the sooner the better, because otherwise, you know, I'll forget what theater is really like. And as soon as they opened them up here in the Cleveland area, we were back in our seats, enjoying live theater. And the first show we saw was absolutely horrendous, and no fault to the cast at all, but they had a different sound crew, and the sound crew was not in sync with what they were doing. And I just remember my husband just sitting there going, and I waited for this. And I said, well, the next show will be much better. So you've been in film and television. Is there something that I may have seen you in that I could say, hey, I know her?
Oh boy. I don't know. I mean, unless you watch like a lot of indie films.
Well,
You know,
we do.
I don't know. Probably not yet.
Okay.
But hopefully soon.
Someday soon. And especially because you are coming out with something wonderful next week. So tell us about what's happening on June 6th.
Yeah, so I have a show, a cabaret show at Birdland, which is a jazz club here in New York, that is based on, it's songs and stories from growing up in New York City. It's called City Sounds. And it's a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to build. I'm really amazing musicians performing with me. Matt Baker, who's my music director and an incredible jazz pianist. But it's just like I said, the total glamour and total chaos of living in New York and growing up in New York and experiencing that from like a child's point of view is very funny at times. You know, like weird run-ins with celebrities when I was like 7 and not knowing what was going on, and or just like, you know, watching grown-ups at parties being like, you know, thinking something was totally normal and then looking back on it and going, oh, that must be why I am the way that I am. But yeah, it's most of the songs are New York themed. Some of them aren't, but they are for me, you know. So yeah, it should be a fun night.
Did you put this all together on your own, or did you have a team that you were working with?
Well, I put the idea together all on my own, and then Matt and I are working on a lot of the musical arrangements together. But the idea and the structure and the hustling, if you will, has all been me.
So what I think is interesting is, if I'm getting the gist of this, it's at a jazz club that you're performing. It obviously has some sort of a jazz sound and theme to it. And it's really your story that you're telling in song.
Yeah.
And for many people out there, they haven't seen productions like that too often. Those are the productions that I grew up with when I was younger, and just found them to be fascinating. And when I was asked to talk to you today, I thought, I wish I was in New York, because I would love to see, something that my parents would have taken me to when I was younger. Some of us have just gotten a little spoiled with some of the entertainment that's out there, and New York has fabulous entertainment.
Yeah.
So speaking of that, there's a lot of people in New York who are vying for your spot, so to be. They want to have their show. They want to have their music out there. Is it just as fierce as it was before the pandemic, or has it sort of gotten a little milder?
I don't know. It still sort of remains to be seen, like it hasn't been that long. I know a lot of people left the city. So there's that factor of, just who's still here. I think that there's so much with like social media and being able to put things out yourself that it's sort of it's very oversaturated, right? So like being able to do something in person at a concrete place that other people have actually asked me to do I'm really lucky.
Absolutely.
I think.
Well, it's more than luck. It has to be talent as well.
Oh, well, hopefully. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, again, I talked to many artists over the last 7 years, and truthfully, I am finding that young people like yourself, you're bringing back the entertainment that so many of us enjoyed in the 50s and 60s. It's sort of like dwindled away. And you all respect the art. And again, as my generation got a little bit older, we started not respecting it as much. We would just take anything that was given to us. Luckily, my husband was a theater major, and from the day I met him, he was going to help me pick and choose what we would see. And he offered me so much more in life than I ever would have imagined. So what are your plans for the future? And when I ask you that, I want our listeners to understand that we all make plans for the future. Some come true, some do not. So we're not going to hold you to it. But as you're sitting here getting ready for Monday and this performance, what do you see beyond that?
I mean, any time that I'm performing, I'm happy. So any way that can be true, whether it's doing a play, doing a musical, doing concerts, doing a tour, doing film, doing TV, any of it. If I could be doing just one of those things at any given moment in the future, I think I would be happy. So that's the plan. You have to, I think, pursue a few different avenues at a time in this business, because if you put all your eggs in one basket, like that basket's gonna fall.
You
really
got
quick.
it.
So I'm trying to expand in all of the ways that I can, and I really ultimately just want to get better at what I do. I think also growth is really important to me. So whether that means you know, having a regular show, like having a residency somewhere and getting to sing, you know, a few times a week, or being in a show where I get to
Perform
exercise my
regularly.
muscles all the time. Yeah, that I think is where I'd like to see myself.
Well, and I think that what you have said is so important for all of us. You know, if we plan that we can only do one thing, okay, whether it be dance, sing, play a sport, write a book, our life changes, our thoughts change. And with that, as we learn more, sometimes we have to take that little fork in the road. And I know I've done that numerous times in my life. And I think you most likely will too. But as long as they say you are doing what you love in life, you will never work a day in your life. So we look forward to hearing more about you, and best of luck with your show starting out. It's going to be at the Birdland, located on West 44th Street in New York. And the name of it again is
City Sounds.
City Sounds. So we wish you the best of luck, and hopefully you'll go on tour with it and we'll all get to see it.
Yeah,
I would love that.
hopefully.
All right.
I
Have
would
a
love that
great
too.
day.
All
Thank
right,
you.
you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.